So thank you very much for inviting us. There was a lot of call for public institutions to get involved, to start using the blockchain, and I would like to tell you a little bit what EUIPO is doing. We are very happy to see a lot of familiar faces. We've been already in contact, collaborating with some of you. So EUIPO is a European Union Intellectual Property Office. We're based in Alicante, Spain. We are basically specializing in registration, community trademark and designs. But in 2012, the European Observatory of Infringement of Intellectual Property Rights was moved to Alicante, to EUIPO, and we started to deal very seriously with the problem of counterfeiting. Why is that? Well, of course, counterfeiting is big, it's growing. There's a lot of problems with consumers, with products which have negative impact on consumers' health. You have some figures here. 43 million of citizens, so 10% of European consumers were tricked into buying counterfeit goods. 35% wondered whether a product was original or not. Certainly some of you had also issues of wondering whether products you are buying are fake or not. So having this and knowing this, we started to look at the technology. We know that there is in current situation where there is a lot of products entering the EU market which are fake, the customs officers are not able to intercept all the fakes. Actually, they are analyzing around less than 1% of the products coming to the EU. That's why we said, well, we have to look at the technology, what is out there, to help our customs officers, the police, market surveillance, right holders, logistic operators, and consumers, of course, to deal with problems of fakes. What did we do? We took all the players together. We organized EU Blockathon, the first in the history. It was organized with the European Commission. You see the photo here from the event itself. It was a competition. Some of the winners are here together with us, so we are very lucky and very happy to have them. 11 teams compete to design the best prototypes for the next anti-counterfeiting infrastructure. Here are the teams, the Blockathon teams. These are the winners. Cryptomize, Thomas is here. Cryptomize designed the virtual twin linked to physical products available to all stakeholders in the supply chain to verify authenticity. We had Trust Tracked, which support customs in achieving a higher success rate in stopping fake goods. We had Seal, also digital twin, but with smart contracts to settle imports tariff combined with tamper-proof identification and packaging. We had Good Chain that incentivized brands to have meaningful engagement with consumers by combining support to social causes with authenticity checks. We're discussing this morning about the social causes and charity causes. This was a very good one, and that's why it was awarded as a winner of the Blockathon, one of the winners. So the Blockathon was a success. The teams are there, the codes are there, prototypes are there. Right holders and customs officers who were collaborating with us, logistic operators, they are all on board. What is the follow-up? We decided to create an anti-counterfeiting Blockathon Forum. It's a place where we are going to further define the next level of anti-counterfeiting infrastructure. And well, here I think I will pass floor to Adam to explain a little bit what the forum will be doing. Thank you.
Thank you. So thanks very much for inviting me here today with Justyna. Justyna's just introduced a little bit by talking about the blockathon, the pilots and the prototypes that were done for the competition. And yes, the question was, what do you do next after that? And this is where we had the idea of the forum. So our mission to define, pilot, and implement the next level of anti-counterfeiting technology. It's actually the same mission that we took into the competition as well. And but we realized that a 3-day competition wasn't really enough to complete the mission, as you can imagine. More work to do. So this year, we want to continue with the collaboration and exchange of information with experts. This was one of the real advantages of having the competition. We put everyone together for 3 days, and we were really able to, and I use this expression again, I'm sure, but really able to join the dots, to put logistics operators together in the same room as technology experts, with lawyers, with customs, and this way making sure that that communication was happening, so everyone understood what we were trying to achieve together. So we're going to continue doing that with this forum. Now the forum needs something to focus on. So in this case, we have decided to develop a use case. Use case is one of those words I hear almost daily now. I remember the first time I heard about use cases about 10 years ago. It was like, what's a use case? Now everyone knows what a use case is, yeah? Well, I think everyone has an idea of what a use case is. Now, our idea of a use case is to kind of build a view of what it means to tackle anti-counterfeiting or to tackle counterfeiting. Okay, so our use case is all on the theme of counterfeiting. Now, we're sitting in a supply chain forum here today, but there's, as I've been listening to people talk, I've been hearing about authenticity, tracking goods, and there's a great deal of overlap there and a great deal of compatibility between those two subjects. So I'm very happy to be here talking about this subject. Our focus will be on counterfeiting, but clearly there's a big overlap with supply chain. Once we've explored the use case, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute, we will then want to pilot. We actually want to produce pilots through the year. Can you see okay? We want to produce pilots at the end of the year, which we can then talk about really going into production, to take the solutions out into production. Okay, so let's talk about the use case a little bit more. So the use case will be a document. We will be publishing this in the very near future, in the next weeks. In order to see that document, you need to join the forum, and you'll be able to contribute to the content of that use case. The use case, when we publish it, is not finished. It's a starting point. But with the involvement of the forum, we will develop the ideas and the requirements around counterfeiting that need to be supported by a pilot. The use case is technology agnostic. Okay? We're not looking at any particular solution or any particular technology to take it forward, except it has blockchain at its heart. The use case looks very familiar, or will look very familiar to you. It will be like an activity diagram, essentially. Okay? You'll see activities, you'll see them linking, you'll be seeing them linking actors to each other, and you'll be seeing how those actors and those activities interoperate and work with the blockchain at a high level. There will be the blockchain touch points in there, so understanding where blockchain will or will not be used in this use case. And the final bit, which is really important, because as I said, the use case is not finished at the time of publication, is the use case will be structured for feedback. Okay? This means that when you look at the activities, you'll be able to identify the activities you feel that you have something to offer in, and you'll be able to give your input into that so we can develop this use case together and end up with the best possible use case to take forward to a pilot. Okay? So, supported roles. Who's in the use case? Brand owners. brand owners a big incentive, big motivation in order to protect their goods. The manufacturer, the logistics, customs authorities, which we already do a lot of solutions with customs authorities at the moment as the EUIPO. I'll come to that a bit more. The customer, clearly. And then another actor here is the enforcement database. The enforcement database is one of the tools of the EUIPO. It's like a communication tool which connects customs to brand owners, to police authorities, and in this way it allows alerts, suspicious cases, it allows applications for actions to be communicated. So in here, the enforcement database plays a big role in anti-counterfeiting. So we want to see how that can be placed into the wider use case. Okay, so this is a very, very high level view of the use case, just as a bit of a teaser, okay? So at the core of the use case is authenticity. So I think we've got the right people here today. I've been hearing authenticity a lot in the discussions that we've had this morning. So authenticity is at the core of the use case. I think we were hearing this described as how you can link a real object to a digitized representation of that object. So that was a nice little summary and definition for me of where that sort of authenticity comes in. Then outside the authenticity, transport. Transport feels very supply chainy, yes? So this is where we're moving the goods through the supply chain, checking it on its way. All of the different stages of the supply chain. But also how you might contain the goods within a larger container and still be able to track the goods that way. Around that is the enforcement. And the enforcement is one of the areas where we bring in the enforcement database clearly. And it's the requirements for example, customs officers, customs authorities, and police, and what they need to have in terms of the anti-counterfeiting use case. And then finally, around that, you have provenance. Now, provenance is, I don't need to give you a definition of provenance, but clearly provenance relies on other services which we've been talking about on the other layers. So you're going to need to rely on authenticity, you're going to need to be able to rely on the movements of the goods through the supply chain, you're going to need to be able to rely on whether the checks are being done properly for enforcement, and this is where provenance brings all those together. And I think another element of this is actually something that the Swedish gentleman was bringing up. So provenance goes actually beyond even the sort of commercial life and into recycling and things like that. So if you can trace beyond that, then I think provenance gives you a chance to sort of see right even beyond the final sale of the products. Okay, so that's a little bit of a teaser as to what the use case will look like. As I said, the use case when it's published is not finished. It needs your input in order for it to be complete and become a good basis for the pilots that will come later in the year. So phase one, first thing to do is to join the forum. Okay, the forum was announced 2 weeks ago now, and the links we'll show you in a minute, but you can join that. Anyone can join actually. If you may be a standards expert, you may be a technology guru, a lawyer, academia, a big IT implementer. If you've got an interest and passion for solving the counterfeiting problem, then please join, okay? Once that's done, the forum is created. We'll then be...
Can you specify how they can join?
Yes, I will. There's another slide just after this. Yes, I'll come to that. It's basically on the web. Okay, I will show you a link and you press the button and you can join. Okay? That's the easy bit for today. Then there's the elaboration of the use case, which we'll be doing together. We will be sort of passing information backwards and forwards. And then that should be finished around about May time. Once the use case is baselined, we will then sort of we'll have a session in June where we will come together. Exactly the location is still to be decided, but we will be coming together, bringing people together to look at the use case and to decide about plans for the next stage, which is where we will be doing the piloting. Okay? Now, just a reminder, the great thing that happened in the blockathon, I mentioned it before, but it was this joining the dots. It was bringing people together. It was bringing stakeholders together. Okay? Whether you were from the public sector, whether you were representing standards, governance, whether you were representing technology or logistics, or you're an intermediary. This is it was a unique opportunity to bring people together, and this forum extends that opportunity. Okay, so when you see and get involved in this use case, you're getting involved with a big community that can really help to understand all the perspectives that need to be taken into account. Now, when it comes to the pilot, what I'd like to say is, I showed you previously on here. I don't know, this is one of the great things about my job. When I went into doing the blockathon, I wasn't sure how the blockathon would look at the end of it. Honestly, in this, I'm still not sure what pilot we will go forward with, or what pilots we will go forward with. But perhaps you can see yourself in one of these perspectives. Maybe it's on the transport, the enforcement, the provenance, or the authenticity. But if you've got a view or a contribution you can make in that, it would be very interesting to discuss how together we can build the use case, the requirements around that, and how we can decide what pilots need to be done. Okay? Okay, so from July onwards, the pilots will start to be built. Aha! I'm going to answer your question now. Okay? Take a picture of this if you like.
I'm already
Good. Okay. Well, we've had a good rate of registration already, actually. So thank you very much for joining. So to contribute, as I said, open to anyone with a vision that can help us achieve our mission. Join if you're interested in working together to implement the next level of anti-counterfeiting infrastructure. That's our message to you. And here you can see where you can actually do the join up to the forum. Okay? Forwards or?
Actually, the link is much shorter. You can just go to blockathon.eu, and there you have the whole registration link. So.
Question.
No question. Oh, questions. You're welcome. Yes.
I have a startup. Sorry.
Hi.
Okay. I have a startup in blockchain for ports. So it's a private company. Is there, if you want to join, is there a budget for participating in pilots, or is it all on a voluntary basis?
As to how the funding will happen, there's that will be part of when we're discussing from sort of June onwards. There isn't a EUIPO budget set aside, except for helping to bring people together. There will be all sorts of parties involved in that, and as to how funding happens, I think that will evolve too. But at the moment, it will be coming from the forum themselves, the funding for it. Okay? There's no EUIPO budget as such, except to help coordinate and bring people together. Okay.
So I have a question. I was talking to Maxime earlier about how he's working on different product categories to implement blockchain-based supply chain solutions, and realizing that each product category is very, very different in terms of whether you can track individual goods or batches of goods or just the provenance of a good, number of stakeholders along the supply chain, etc. And so I don't know anything about anti-counterfeiting, but I was curious how much, to what extent do you expect that this infrastructure will be a common one for all product categories, or a series of customized ones with some interoperability bridges between them?
Okay. I think this is actually one of the answers we're expecting to come out of this exercise. Okay, I totally agree with you that different products are very different. And this morning we were looking at containers and chickens and jewelry, and I was starting to think, we've actually solved the problem here. We're able to move all of these different types of products, but obviously there are many questions still to be answered as to how you take that further, and how you sort of go mainstream with blockchain in order to support many more categories. And I think that's what we're interested in doing with this pilot. Actually, we're interested in looking at things like the obstacles. We're interested in knowing about the incentives, and how you motivate the community to actually want to move towards blockchain, and how governance comes into this. So we're not looking at moving turkeys as well as chickens. You know, we want to see how blockchain can actually support a much bigger audience, and in order to reach its sort of most effective capacity, in order to break and to fight counterfeiting. Okay, does that answer?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Adam and Justyna. What's the baseline in terms of required stakeholders that you think you need to have on board to make this work?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what's the difference between one consortium already existing outside of EUIPO, your institutional framework? So what are your expectations in minimum number of relevant stakeholders to have it around to make it work?
Okay. Well, Chiara, you have to be there. All right, you're my first stakeholder, so make sure you're in the forum yourself. We need to get a broad balance of perspectives and experience. We've already got we're already seeing a good number of sort of technology enthusiasts coming forward, and some of the big integrators as well are already applying. But we need to get the mix. So we need lawyers, we need logistics operators there. We need brand owners there. Justyna, would you like to say something?
I think what makes this initiative a little bit different from all the others is that EUIPO has quite a unique possibility to have enforcers at the table. We work very closely with the customs officers, with police, and actually customs were surprisingly the most positive about the technology, about the blockchain. They needed for their risk analysis. So in every meeting they are motivating us to move forward on the project. So I think the enforcement part, together with of course the brand owners, logistic operators, and technology companies are the key there.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
Do they also have? Well, I will come to you. Nice.
I have a question. Do you have GS1 or EECC amongst your stakeholders in these kind of workshops or in these hackathons?
Oh, we have GS1.
Yeah, because that is, I mean, they have 1.2 million customer companies out there. One thing that I found to be very instructive here, that everyone was talking about traceability, but nowhere was actually the link to existing standards present.
Yeah.
And trying to build up a new one, it's hopeless.
Yeah. That's true.
You had a whole workshop in the blog about standards, and GS1 was there. So I think you had a whole workshop dedicated to standards and to bringing customers on board during the Blockton workshop.
And I think as well as the standards, we have to accept that there's a lot of legacy systems. You know, we need to look at, if we're going to really accelerate this, then we need to be able to integrate with existing standards and existing legacy systems. So yeah, thanks for your point.
That has already been answered.
That's already been
Okay, is it?